Hey everybody, welcome back to the Turnout. I am your host Aloy. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you always know when the Turnout puts out a new video. Specifically, when we go live like this, you want to make sure you hit the like button because everybody who's here and hits like, that ups the chance that somebody else is going to get the alert and then they will come join us. So make sure that if you are here, you hit the like button. That's a weird algorithm thing that I discovered. So more people hit like now, more people can come, and then they can hit like, and then they tell two friends, and they tell two friends, and so on and so on. So today we're talking about Which Way, which is episode 7 of season 3 of Charmed. And I have to say, I was not actually that happy with this episode. I was really hoping that I was gonna like be blown away again. The last few episodes, I mean, despite me not necessarily liking the way that some of the characters are treating some of the other characters and all that stuff, I mean, that is just kind of that's par for the course at this point. Like, not everybody's going to get along, and I'm okay with that. Like, not everybody has to. This episode I felt was it had a good idea, and I think it was actually executed pretty well, but I also then felt that some of the interactions between the characters and stuff just didn't necessarily fit. And hello to Christian, David, and Dammy who are here. Thank you very much. But yeah, I feel like this was an interesting way. Like, it was like a Memento type episode where it was like stuff happened, but now we have to piece it all together, and each piece that we piece together reveals another piece of the clue. I think that it was, I don't know. I guess I know I started off by saying it wasn't, I didn't like it and it wasn't as good. I feel like it just honestly just wasn't as good as some of the episodes before. I don't feel like it built on anything. I don't feel like it pushed the story forward at all. I feel like it just kind of is there. In anime, you would call this a filler episode, but I liked it. I didn't love it, I guess. So yes, hello to everybody. Definitely, while you're here, don't forget you can throw questions in the comments, and I'm going to go through a kind of I'm going to go through the recap of the episode, and when I'm done with that, I'll obviously jump back and I'll try and hit anything in the comments. If you definitely want me to see your comment right away, obviously you can do the super chat, and it like pops up, and it's like in orange letters and all that stuff, and it's like super visible. Otherwise, I'll try and get to it after, but I feel like going through the recap of this episode might kind of explain why I had some issues with it. I don't think it was bad. I'm so like on the fence here because I definitely can't say that it's bad. It just wasn't wonderful and great and all the things that I love. so uh so and there's a funny thing too here. Just in the previews going into the episode, it reminded us that like Maggie got the vision about Antonio, so we knew that we would be, we knew what to be expecting. And I noticed that she didn't actually touch him. They clinked glasses, but there wasn't any other physical touch. So that, like, I don't know, that seems weird. Like, that means that, I mean, I guess they were kind of touching because their glasses were touching, but it doesn't have to be me touching you. It could just be something I'm touching you, which would mean, like, by extension, if I'm sitting at a bar, for instance, I will just get visions from everybody who is also touching the bar at that precise moment. I feel like that is a little weird. Like, you should either be able to get visions without touching, or you get visions from touching. All visions before this have been from touching, and now all of a sudden we're getting them from not touching, but touching the same thing. I don't know. It's weird. I just wanted to point that out because it was just a weird inconsistency that like really shined in my face right as we were going into the episode. So anyway, Maggie is meditating and she's trying not to think about Antonio, which I was like, okay, you know what? I probably would be thinking about Antonio as well. So she goes around and she's like, oh, I'm all alone in the house. I wonder where Mel is. And she sends a text to Mel. And I just wanted to just real quick, I'm being like super picky and like anal about things today, but there like when you saw the screenshot of Maggie's phone, Like, is she 70? Like the type on the screen was like in giant letters. It was just what? I was like, how old are you? Nobody has it that large unless you like have poor eyesight or something. It probably was so that the viewer could see the letters and stuff. I get that. But just looking at it, I was just like, how old is she? This is weird. Um, so then all of a sudden, like she's in safe space, and then she's back in the house, and then she's in safe space, and all the this was actually a pretty cool little thing. It was a little extra thing was while she was there and she's like, I'm all alone. Where am I? The screens on like that were blinking out next to her, they said, what's happening on them, which I thought was kind of fun. And I don't know if Safe Space like commonly has a thing called, what's happening. Oh no, that's right. Because it was what's happening. And then it was like the events that are happening in Safe Space. But I liked it that it was like what's happening right now because I'm completely confused. It would have been nice if the things themselves, the list of activities were also like weird things, like little gimmies, little like Easter eggs, but they weren't. They were like Pilates and stuff like that, so they weren't anything. But the what's happening, I was like, ooh, that's kind of fun. Somebody said earlier that just in the chat here, you said it's like Charmed meets WandaVision, and yeah, it had a similar feel to WandaVision in terms of like how it was structured a little bit. So yeah, I'd give that to you. I don't know if it's like it's obviously not just a one for one, but there it is. And hello to Davey who has shown up. Thank you, Davey. Like I believe you've been at like most of these, so really really good to see you. Hashtag Jordan for president. I agree. He's only in this episode a little bit, and I'll talk about him when we get there. But I was like, okay, so that's interesting. So they're lost in a dream. I was like, okay, cool. They're lost in the dream, and then it goes to the Charmed logo, and then it shatters as we hear glass breaking. And again, like that's wonderful. Like that's great composition and cinematography and like connection, and it's evocative and like it's great. It's immersive. I think that they were doing a really good job with this episode in terms of just feel, so Macy wakes up, is also trapped in a dream in safe space. She's of course the scientist, so she takes out her phone. She's like, Macy's log, there's a blood trail, and I'm all alone, but I'm also all alone. My powers are MIA, but we still have the allergy. So like the whole episode, she's like, like making sure that they're keeping track of everything, which I thought was, you need to have some character who does that. I do a lot of role playing, so like you always need the note keeper kind of character who remembers things and is keeping track of what's happening. What we learned though is that that meticulousness that she has kind of rubs Macy the wrong way. I'm sorry, rubs Mel the wrong way. And then Mel, of course, was like, I'm going to break this window. And then it rubs Macy the wrong way, and they're kind of biting at each other. And I was like, oh, that's so weird, because we just had this whole time of like, actually they've been getting along really really well this whole time. So it was weird to now see them kind of like snapping at each other. We do find out later why, but also even then at that point it seemed weird that they were snapping at each other, but we'll get into it in a second. So she finds like a bloody cloth. The cloth belonged to Mel, who broke the window. And then she goes through one door in a safe space into another door, and then meets up with Macy. They go through another door and end up with Maggie. And I was like, okay, cool. So this is like a weird kind of like haunted house, like mist maze sort of thing. Maybe it's not a dream. Maybe, or I mean, if it is, that's all a shared dream. But we've already done shared dreams last season, so it would make sense that they would try to do something else. So yeah, so then they jump through. Let me see. Hold on. Where am I? They hear a noise. So they grab some garden tools. They upgrade to a garden tool. Also, Mel like grabbed like a shoe as self-defense. I was like, what? That's stupid. And they find Maggie meditating again, but with a baseball bat, and she doesn't know who they are. And this is a trippy episode so far. Like I think the setup for this episode was really really good. Then we went to a commercial. Now, Mel and Macy, that's when they start arguing about the window. And then there's all of a sudden this weird explosion in in the room, and it's the tick tick boom is what Maggie calls it. And she's like, it happens every few sleeps. There's no daytime nighttime here, so I measure it in sleeps, and I've been here for 42 sleeps. I was like, what? That means she's been there for a long time. So like 42 sleeps, and there's a tick tick boom every few sleeps. So that's important later on. So it's different time for Maggie in there. So yeah, this one was the one that I didn't. This was one of the scenes that started kind of making me mad a little bit again, because we already talked about how Mel was very dismissive of mental health and stuff like that with Abby in the last episode. Well, we get into this episode, and she's just like, being in here has made Maggie crazy. And I'm like, I mean, it didn't make her crazy. Like, she isn't crazy. Whatever magic is doing this to you is affecting her mental state, but she's not crazy. Like, it just seems like they're writing all of these terrible things for Mel. Like, and Mel's like the activist. She's the one who's like fighting for causes. She's the one that should be up on the lingo. She should know what ableist lingo is, and why you should not be saying that. So it's like, it's stuff like that. Anyway, whoever's writing for Mel, stop it. Stop doing that. That thing that you're doing, stop it. But the cool thing is that since Maggie has been there for so long, she's like mapped out which door goes to where and all that stuff. So she knows how to get around, which is very helpful. So let's see what else we have going on here. So this was kind of interesting though. This was an episode where the sisters were together the whole episode. And I think that hasn't happened for, geez, I don't even think that happened that often in the first season, where they were all together for the whole episode. So that was, I guess, a good part of the episode there. So I noticed something, is that the bag that Maggie had the name Macy Vera on it. And I was like, wait a minute, why would it have Macy Vera on it? And then it sparks a thing where like Macy says something. They introduce themselves essentially. And then it prompts a vision, a memory of Maggie where she remembers bringing lunch to Macy, and it said Macy Vaughn on the bag. So, now we're finding out that there's glitches in here. So I was like, ooh, that's pretty good. I like that. See, again, it's like there's some good ideas in here. So there you go. I liked in the memory that we were already learning more about what's happening with Jordan, because Jordan says, I got the approval from the partners that they'll let me do pro bono work. So again, I just want to point out that in the last episode, both Maggie and Jordan acknowledged that they were faced with something wrong in their life. And it took Jordan coming into Maggie's life for her to solve it. For Jordan, of course, he said, well, I'm going to go ahead and just solve this issue. So he talked to the partners and he said, I'm going to do some pro bono work. Let's make sure that we can do this. And they're like, yeah, you should totally do that. And great. He solved his issue, and he's solving it off screen. And because it's not even that big of a deal to him, because Jordan is awesome, and it doesn't have to be the main storyline, because he can do it. He can just do it all. If it was the main storyline, that would be like it was presenting some sort of challenge for him. But he's like, no, I'm Jordan. I'll do it anyway. Anyway, Jordan's the best character on the show. And Jordan, to me, I told you that I do a lot of role playing. Jordan, to me, is like when you have a GM, a game master, and they have their like favorite NPC that like shows up all the time and has all the answers and can do everything. That's what Jordan is. Like, there is no scenario where he can't do it. He can't do something. He can do anything. And even if he is presented with a problem, he will solve it. Okay, I'm done. So I did also like that memory, because it was kind of cute that Macy was like, I don't know how I'm going to tell Swan that I didn't get the pro bono thing going. So I thought that was pretty cool, that, Swan is just there, and it's almost like Swan is there just to hold Macy accountable. And she doesn't even feel accountable to the board. She feels more accountable to Swan, which I thought was kind of fun. So anyway, Back to the thing. So hold on. Where am I here? Okay. So a text comes in. Mel says that she's figured out how to access the monster prison. So we get back to what did I write here? uh so that was like, oh, now I know we're in the monster prison. Okay, great. So they go to the command center, and Maggie draws up a map because she can. They call it the Tomb of Chaos, which I love. That's a great name for this place. And they are all snapped away again because there's some sort of AI mechanism in the prison that is keeping them separate, because if they're together, then they're figuring things out and they're regaining their memories and they're able to try and escape. Macy then, immediately after I wrote it down in my notes, Macy then said the same thing. Oh, there's a possible AI here that's doing this. So I was like, yes, good. I'm glad we're on board. And they said exactly what I had just said. But she can't get out the stairs. So basically, the AI is like, you can't go up the stairs, and starts playing some music. And she starts getting like, ooh, into the music. It's weird. Maggie finds a picture of Antonio because for some reason the prison thinks that Antonio, because she's been thinking about Antonio a lot, thinks that Antonio is her boyfriend and whatnot. So they start figuring out that these glitches are a way to get out of it. And I did like that. Again, I think on paper this episode is so good, but it's just underwhelming in like a little bit of the execution, and also the fact that Mel was really like irritating this episode. And I like Mel. I like Mel so much. So let me see, where am I here? Oh yeah, and then like Mel starts like sinking into a floor or something. Like, I don't know, it felt like some of these were like, Macy listens to music and Mel drops through a floor, and Maggie becomes a cave person and with a baseball bat. So I don't know. But what we do find is we find out that Mel was being audited, and that's what, like, when they went into the prison, there was like a picture of a dude, and they were like, who is this dude? I even wrote that in my notes. I was like, who's that guy? So but he finds out that that was an auditor that was sent to her class by the dean because she refused to teach the dean's thing. And they were like, well, we'll promise not to do that anymore. And she said, okay. And they asked her to sign an NDA. And it turns out that instead of signing an NDA, she went and made a speech in front of all the students. And I was like, okay, like that seems like the extreme answer to that. Once, I guess it's one thing. Like, I usually give people, a couple of chances, right? Like, okay, cool. Well, the dean did this thing, she's saying she's sorry, but it seems like it's retaliation. All right, fine. I'll sign this NDA this time. Don't let that shit happen again. And then next time I might do what then Mel did, but Mel just like goes off into like straight up, again, she's an activist. That's what she does. And I don't know, it felt right for her character, but also wrong for her character, because what she's trying to do here, like, if she cares about her job and she cares about what she's doing, then like, why would she jeopardize that for just like, oh, the dean doesn't like me? It seemed a little bit weird. I mean, but like, in the moment, she decided that was the best thing to do, I guess. It's not a decision I would have made. I would have made it like, if they had done it, like, again, I would have given it the one shot. I would have been like, fine, whatever, don't do it again. Okay, so I don't think that was the right choice. I would have not done that. But we find out in the end that it was perfectly fine. Even though she even said herself, like, no, I kind of went off crazy, and that probably wasn't the right thing for me to do. But it paid off for her in the end anyway. So I guess that's the moral of the story. Is you should just go off the deep end and everything will work out just fine. So so then we find out that they figured out how to get out of the prison. They have to say this spell and then it opens up the portal. They did that. And then they're like, fine, we're home. That's great. And then they're like, oh crap. No, we're actually still just stuck in the prison. And you know what? It got me for a while because I wasn't looking at the clock. I didn't know how much more the episode was left. And honestly, I wasn't enjoying the episode as much as I wanted to. So I was like, okay, good. We're going to get to an ending now. I'm fine with it. And then they're just like, they see a picture of Marisol with all three of the girls. And they're like, that picture doesn't exist. And it's like, crap, we're still in it. But you know what? That was a good twist. They got Aloy on that one. So they got me. I will totally tell. I am not against saying that when they get me, I predict a lot of stuff, but when they get me, I will tell you. So let's see, where am I here? Yeah, so I thought that was going to be like the sister debrief. Like they're like, wow, it's crazy because we look at each other from the outside. It makes us feel, kind of weird and blah, blah, blah. And then Maggie's like, I'm going to go take a bath. And they're just like, nah, we're still stuck. Now, here was the thing here that was weird was the tick, tick, boom. Is that um, they say, oh no, every time that the tick, tick, boom happened, that was a monster escaping. And I'm like, wait, Maggie, where did you come up with that? Because you just somehow like blurted that out, like as if you know that that's it, but like there was nothing to tell us that that's what that was. So, but that's the assumption that we're going on, is that every tick tick boom was a monster being released, which means if there was one for every, let's say for every 3 of the 42 sleeps, let's just do the math here because I'm actually curious. So 42 divided by 3, that would mean that that was at least, and that was if they were going every 3 days, that would be at least 14 new ancient pre-civilization demons that are out there. See, that's what math is for. I like math. So yeah, so that would be 14 new ones. So just keep that in mind going into future episodes. There's already a ton of them out there. So basically what they do is they focus their power of 3 on the photo, and they end up removing the illusion of the prison, and they end up in this weird like Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey kind of hell looking thing with all the symbols and stuff. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. I actually really liked the look of the prison. I thought it looked really cool. And they're like, okay, cool. So there's a portal. Let's try and escape. And the prison creates the illusion of a Chupa Alma in front of them. And they're like, oh crap, we have to fight this thing again. And then they're like, actually, we defeated this thing. There's no way that it's still here. So that means that this is just an illusion. They're like, you sure about this? It's like, oh, I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out. And they run through it. So it was cool. They ended up running out of the portal into like a construction zone. And Harry's there and he says, you did it. You're home. This was weird though. He was wearing all black and he had like a weird like kind of look on his face. So I was like, is that Jimmy instead? That would just be a great twist. But it ended up it was Harry, so it's not Jimmy. It looked like it was Jimmy. I didn't think it was Harry because of just his demeanor and stuff. It definitely was more Harry. I'm sorry, it definitely was more Jimmy than it was Harry. But they end up doing a spell to seal the door, and they say that it should hold for at least a little bit. But again, there were 14 other 14 other things that came out while they were in there. They were in there for 4 hours, but apparently Mel's video of her doing the crazy speech against the dean got over 700,000 views, which no, that's not even real. Nobody cares that much about this little school. And I don't actually what school is she teaching at? Actually, I actually don't know. If it was a big school, it would make a lot of sense, but it's at a little school, it wouldn't. So I'm not really sure. So she actually goes to school and she's like, she brings a cardboard box. She's like, I'm ready to get fired, I guess. And yeah. And then Kevin's like, oh no, like all the students protested and the dean is for retaliation. She got put on leave. And I was like, yay, that's great that Mel said that she was acting brashly and shouldn't have done it, but she gets rewarded in the end anyway. So it is a good ending, and I'm glad that it ended that way because although the dean as like a reoccurring bad guy could be interesting, again, I feel like that's what's missing here on this show is every time we get introduced to a possible reoccurring enemy or obstacle of some sort, they are always immediately dealt with. There is no subtlety. There is no bad guy that keeps coming back or anything. I guess Jimmy would be the I guess until Jimmy comes back, he's not the the exception to the rule, but he did come back quite a few times. I like reoccurring enemies because every enemy shouldn't just be like, you opposed me once and I vanquished you and you're gone. It's just like, no, like why shouldn't they stand? I don't know. Anyway, that's just me. I enjoy reoccurring enemies. So Macy figures out how to, okay, this was All right, I'm sorry. This was another thing that really threw me, is she brings in one of the board members and she says, I figured out how to make the pro bono legal thing work, is that we do no more free coffee to everybody here. And like the representative of the board is like, yeah, but free coffee has always been a thing that Safe Space does. And she's like, yeah, but I've talked to everybody. They said that they're fine with it. So why don't we just charge them so that we can have the pro bono legal stuff? And the the representative was just like, this is a really big change, so I guess I'll have to go present it to the board. And I'm just sitting here, I'm just like, that's stupid. You have to share with the board that you plan on charging for coffee. How is this like the cornerstone of Safe Space? Is that you can go there and get free coffee? What? That is the stupidest thing. And I'm glad that Macy was like, well, I already shared it on all the socials and stuff. So hopefully it's not too big of an issue, because everybody now thinks that we are charging for our coffee. And I'm like, what a weird thing to put on your socials. Hey, everybody, just so you know, we're charging for coffee now. Like, why would you then put all of that onto your social media? It doesn't make any sense. This was this was like a nothing. This was such like a low stakes nothing argument. Well, but I think that I should always have free coffee. And if you do take away my coffee to give poor people free legal advice and representation, I mean, but what about my coffee? And I'm like, what? That's no, stop being stupid. Anyway, and then Harry says he doesn't want to spoil the mood by saying anything, but he's like, I'm going to spoil the mood anyway. But there are a lot of ancient threats that have escaped. Yes, 14, at least 14. We did the math in this video. And Jordan comes to the door scared because there is a monster outside. Thing, claws, big, get it. And then it ends on a cliffhanger. So honestly, I felt like this was a pretty good episode. I feel like it was a good first part. It was kind of leading us into whatever the next episode is, obviously with the cliffhanger of like, what's outside? What's the thing outside? I can't wait to see. So I'm pretty excited to see what happens next episode. But what I will say is that for everything that is good at this location in this episode, what I'm using location, everything that's good in this episode seems to be completely like refuted by something else that was just entirely annoying and terrible and not good for the show or the characters or anything. So I don't know. That's just my own personal opinion. Hopefully, oh my gosh, hopefully that wasn't too ranty. Although, you know what? I'm actually okay that it was ranty. So thank you. We have 16 people here, which is actually quite a few. So good job. So let me see what Maria is on Approach the Nerd reviewing Batwoman there, and we're reviewing Charmed here. Yeah, she does her charms the night before. I go to bed early on Sundays. I can't do that. So let's see here. I did notice that there seemed to be some sort of squabble in the chat, so I'm gonna see. I might not jump into it. Let me see. I'm team Joggy. Oh, Jordan and Maggie. Okay, don't want to see Maggie and Antonio. Honestly, I'm not. I've never heard Joggy. That is hilarious. I would think it would be Jorgy. Wouldn't it be Jorgy then? Anyway, I don't want to see them end up together. I'm actually completely happy with them not ending up together because Jordan deserves better. So she doesn't seem to always need to be touching. Last season, when Jordan was helping her train to fight, she had a vision of him coming to her from behind, and she was able to counter. Oh, that's true, because she gets like sporadic premonitions even without it. I guess that's true. I think that it's different in like it, because that seemed like that was almost like combat premonition sort of thing. Like if let's take superhero powers into account here, right? Combat premonition is like what Deathstroke has. He can't see the future, but in a split second he can see the probability of his opponent and which way they're going to go so that he can fight better against them. And that's what it felt like. So it feels like obviously it's an extension of her premonition powers, but it doesn't feel like it's the exact of her premonition powers. Like, so since that episode, she no longer needs to touch anybody. It feels like that's almost a separate thing that relates only to the in the moment fighting that I can see without touching a few seconds ahead, as opposed to seeing way in the future without being able to touch. And yes, that is being very pedantic and picky. But you know, if you don't define your powers well, then you end up with just, well, Maggie can just do Maggie can just see the into the future infinite amounts of time, doesn't need to touch it, doesn't even need to know the person. She could just get random visions from nowhere for just about random people. And it's just like, that hasn't happened. So where is the limitation then at that point? So it just becomes, I get what you're saying, though, David. I get what you're saying. I just refute it slightly. Let me take a drink real quick. Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, bickering sisters. I loved Maggie's tick tick boom too. I liked her in her like kind of like I don't understand anything and I'm kind of a cave person kind of. I thought it was kind of cute. But again, apparently she's crazy. Because again, I hate that. Or that was so annoying. Let's see. All right, and then okay, now we're getting into the Parker fight. Let's figure out how we can get through this Parker fight without. So Davey says, am I the only one who loved all episodes of Charmed and love all characters, even though they cool down Mel character quite literally too? I think that you might be the only person. I mean, I'm definitely not in that camp. I don't just love all episodes of Charmed and all the characters. I love them all to varying degrees, and sometimes I like them and sometimes I don't like them, and it's okay. Like, excuse me, I keep muting myself because I have a weird cough right now. I feel like it's important to be able to love the thing and also critique the thing. If we can't critique the things that we love, then why are we watching the thing, just to like zone out and like not think? No, overthink. A lot of people tell me I overthink things, and my response is usually it's better than underthinking. Because who wants to underthink about things? I just stare at the screen and I don't think about it. There's the pretty people on the screen. Also, to all those people who were saying like Mel's pregnant, so that must be why you thought that she was extra pretty in the last episode. Well, I did not find her pretty at all in this episode. I don't know why. So I might have to compare the episodes and see what's going on, but she was very pretty the last episode. This episode, I mean, it could have just been because I was already annoyed with her. So obviously if you're annoyed with somebody, you find them less attractive. So it could be that. I don't know. It could be that. I apologize also for the giant bags under my eyes. This is why I actually have been trying to stay away from too much video stuff. I haven't posted that many videos and stuff because allergies are really terrible here, and I look like I've been in a fist fight. And I haven't. I've been fighting Mother Nature. My body's fighting against it. It's great. So let's see what we have here. Dammy says, I thought it was Jimmy first at 2. Yeah, he just, I don't know. Maybe the actor was just like, I don't know. Let's pretend like I'm Jimmy because we're going to commercial right after this. And it gives, 2 minutes of like people going, was that Jimmy or was that Harry? I mean, and obviously we find out it's immediately Harry when we come back. But what if it actually is Jimmy? What if Jimmy has now gotten rid of Harry and now Jimmy is pretending to be Harry now? That would be an interesting thing. All right, let's keep that in the back of our heads. If it ends up being true, you heard it here first. So let's see. Could be. I'm just saying. Let me see. So actually, she can go viral. Students at the school could be social media influencers like James Charles. Social media friend of mine went viral in a tweet, but only had 1,000 followers. But yeah. No, basically what I was saying was not that it can't happen. The likeliness of it happening is low, is all I was saying. It's not that it can't happen, but it's not that likely. Jocelyn says, I thought that it was dumb about the coffee too. Thank you. Come on now. What about my free coffee? Anyway. Let's see. It kind of makes me, it kind of makes sense since people are entitled to free things, not gonna lie. Some people can feel entitled to free things, but it also seems to kind of go against the idea of what safe space is. So it seems weird that the board would be against that. So I don't know. It's just my, I don't know. It's just my thing. Could be the, let me see. So I'm a few minutes behind. Wasn't it that the coffee would still be free to customers and all the existing safe space businesses would chip in to cover these costs? Yes. What it was that it was free coffee for everybody. But then the people who run the businesses said that, yeah, like we'll pay for it and we'll chip in to cover the cost and all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. Exactly. So then what the hell's the problem? Everybody's agreed. We've already solved the issue. So what do you even need to go and talk to the board for? Well, because, you know, then it won't be free. I mean, it's just very unorthodox way of handling it. But you know what? Actually, I did like that. I liked that Mel was mad at Macy for being too meticulous and giving in too quickly. And that Macy was mad at Mel for fighting against the system too quickly. And then it kind of worked out for both of them in the end because Mel was like, oh, wow, you know, I probably should have not done that, but it worked out in the end for me. And Macy's like, you know what, maybe I did cave to that too quickly. Maybe I should come up with a creative solution. So I liked that they were kind of bickering at the beginning. And then in the end, they kind of learned from each other a little bit. Like Mel's like, I should probably fight more. And Mel's like, I should definitely fight less, even though the universe has now told me that it is completely okay, everything that I did. Because it all worked out in my favor entirely. So, so yeah, so I actually did like that angle on the ending, though, despite my arguing and my complaining. So let's see. Maggie's inception power is by proximity. She doesn't need to touch people like when she reads thoughts in season 1. Well, hold on though, because the visions, the premonitions, and the reading thoughts are actually two separate powers. And like she had reading thoughts in the first season, and then she lost that, and she ended up getting the premonitions in the second season. So if am I calling that correctly? Now I'm sure I messed that up. But in my mind, they're not connected. They are two separate powers that she has had at two separate times. So proximity for reading minds makes perfect sense. Like you just need to be within a certain amount of space, then you can read their mind. So far, it has been touching for visions, from what I remember. Of course, I have the memory like a goldfish. So I remember some stuff really well, and I remember other things very not well. So that's why I have you guys to keep me honest around here. So there you go. Distrin says the story is progressing better than the first 2 seasons. There's a struggle in the writer's room when it comes to consistently, but a lot of improvement. Budget for this season is immaculate. I completely agree with that. The writing for this season, even if it's going in a weird direction, the writing is much better. Even if I don't necessarily like how some of the characters are being portrayed in individual moments, I feel like overall, I mean, and I guess the whole last episode for both Maggie and Mel, but I feel like on the whole, it is actually going in a really good direction. I'm very excited to see what the rest of the season has, especially again with this cliffhanger of a ending of this episode. So that's just my thought on it. I mean, that's why I have you guys around again. It's good to definitely be able to compare thoughts because I am only one viewer and I like a lot of what they put out there, but not all of it. So it's a thing. It's a thing. So let's see. Shadowlena says Macy likely put out that the businesses were chipping in to help with the pro bono clinic rather than coffee would now come at a cost. You know what? You're right. I was just imagining like because the debate was about coffee. Like it almost wasn't even about the pro bono legal advice and all that stuff. It was about coffee. So, oh God, it's just so weird. But anyway, that is a very good point. Thank you, Shadowlena, for correcting me. They're not going to put out a tweet that's just like, by the way, we're charging for coffee now, bitches. That would be a terrible tweet and would likely make no one go to safe space. But if she already put out that the pro bono thing is like there, definitely. Oh yeah, definitely. That makes perfect sense. I'm with you guys now. But again, like that's the thing about the way that the scene was written. It was not necessarily framed as pro legal advice. It seemed like it was framed as anti-coffee. So anyway, I have not watched any Legacies. I don't even actually know what that show is. So you might be waiting a little bit longer for that review, at least until I figure out what the show is. And if the show is anything like Nosferatu, which was not a great show, I guess, is what I will say. I did a review of me watching the first episode, and go watch that, because you find out very quickly that the main character is poor but very creative. Because they say it in every scene of that first episode. And I did watch the whole rest of the first season because there was nothing else on at the time. But it was not good. And I heard that there was a second season, and I have not once been drawn or urged to go watch that second season. I feel like I got my fill. As much as I like Zachary Quinto, it was not that great. And I'm sorry, now I'm not talking about Charmed anymore. I should probably talk about Charmed some more. But actually, I think I'm done, debating on this episode. The budget is much better. I liked all the effects. I liked that they worked together and that the sisters were all together the whole episode. I really, really did not like Mel. And this is an extension of the last episode where I also did not like Mel. So Mel is kind of hopefully the next episode. Hopefully next week we get a better Mel. Like we need Mel to get back to being the cool protector and not the snotty judgmental person that she is right now. Oh my god, she's crazy. Anyway, but I think on the whole, this was more of a building episode. It wasn't super duper exciting. There wasn't a whole ton of things happening, which is good. It's good to have those episodes every so often. But also, whenever you get those, it was all a dream kind of episodes, they always seem to sit a little bit weird with me, because it's like, oh, we're all in this weird dream and we have to solve the puzzle. And then, oh, yay, we solved the puzzle and we were gone for 4 hours. And it's just like, well, that's like, I guess, good. I mean, now, if everything that they learned about the prison comes back later on, and then by, because that was something that Macy was saying too, was that she was like, I really liked the construction of it. I like the magic behind it. I thought it was really cool. Now, if she starts saying like, well, I want to create my own prison, ooh, then this episode had like a really great reason to have all of this weirdness in it, because Macy had to experience it so she could recreate it, and that would be super duper exciting. If she's like, well, I think that we need a magical prison to put all the bad things, because I'm tired of vanquishing, because vanquishing is just murder. And so we're instead just going to make our own prison, because we have to seal these things away again. And if we don't have access and power and control over the existing prison, we have to make our own. I am completely down for that. Let's do that, writers. If we're going to do that in the show, I am completely on board. If we are not going to do that, then honestly, it was a bit of a filler episode. So I guess that's what I'll say. Yeah. Well, otherwise, guys, I enjoy coming and talking about Charmed every week with you guys, and I'm going to keep doing it. I also am going to come and start talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier and a couple of other shows that I've been watching. I just started watching the one on Netflix, so I definitely want to talk about that pretty soon, because I'm 2 episodes in and I'm already hooked, and there's only 10 episodes, and that drives me wild that there's so many shows that only have 10 episodes, and then like you have to wait a whole year for another 10, and these are all on there, so I'm probably going to end up binging them, and I don't want to do that. But so I'm probably going to come back and start talking about these, because you guys know that I kind of have an addiction for dating shows. So I was like, okay, cool, so this is like dating futuristic show. It's not a date, it's not a reality show, it's like just a show though, but it's about dating. I was like, well, I guess this is kind of right up my alley, and it really kind of is. So anyway though, I will definitely talk to you guys later. I'm going to go make some music with my band. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming and watching. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification. You can become a channel member if you hit the join button. Throw us a couple of dollars for being cool and covering Charmed. You know, it's not mandatory. You don't have to. But otherwise, I've been your host, Aloy. This has been the Turnout. Thanks for showing up.